Hi, and welcome to FrazlCast. Climb aboard the Gnome Train.
Woo! Chugga, 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 woo!
Please make sure to keep your limbs and experimental instruments inside the train at all times. And now, on with the show.
A podcast by a Blizzard fan gnome about World of Warcraft and geeky stuff. I promise you, they do talk about the World of Warcraft. They just go off the rails sometimes.
So I am Frazley, and I am joined by Dravvie of the Running of the Trolls and the Running of the Gnomes. So on this episode, I want to get to know the person who has helped bring about so much good to the Blizzard community. But before we get into that, though, there's one thing that we got to do. Epicinsanity, what time is it?
It's time to go around the table.
Awesome idea. So what have you been up to recently? We'll start with Dravvie.
Well, I've been really busy with the subreddit that I've been moderating. I've been getting ready for Classic. I finished up my flying achievement. So
Nice.
I can finally fly in BFA, so I guess I can quit playing the game right in time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been catching up on my to watch list on Hulu and Netflix, and yeah, I've just been winding down the summer pretty much, so.
And they keep adding stuff. Like I saw Invader Zim's coming. I just watched Rocko's Modern Life, the movie.
Oh, yeah. No, they're adding a lot of nostalgia stuff now. So it's been really nice. There's just so much stuff to watch. I feel like I get done with something and then I have another thing to binge watch in a day.
Oh, me too. And it's trying to figure out, I kind of show. I'm like, okay, I can keep watching this show I'm not enjoying, or I could go watch something else, it's great though. Kids these days don't realize all the choice we have.
Yeah, instead of watching the same episode over and over and over again. Yeah.
And I realized I don't know a lot of the I don't have memories of modern shows because I get done with the show and I get done with it. But seeing Rocko's Modern Life, I know all these things. Oh yeah, I remember that thing over there. Remember that thing over there. I must have watched more of this than I ever realized.
Yeah, it's weird. Some things people know by osmosis. I'm not even certain. Some things people didn't even watch and they're I totally know things about the show just from hearing my friends talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just weird. We have collective knowledge.
Like The Office. Someone was saying The Office became popular and now everyone just knows the jokes. I've seen maybe this much of The Office.
I've never watched it, but somehow I understand the jokes and the memes. I've never ever watched it. Not a single episode, but I understand it.
Well, and you only got a few more months before they take it off to their own streaming service.
Right. I feel I could probably sit down and binge watch it. It's I watched Friends for the first time a few months ago.
Yeah.
And I was I feel I know everything that already happened, all the plot points. I'm just watching all the filler episodes.
Yeah.
I was just hurry up and happen so I can be done with this.
Yeah. I'm going to get through this and be I did it. I put my time in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Though, or unless you've seen it, I think I know a movie that you might enjoy. I watched Ocean 8.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't seen it, but I heard it was really, really, really good. It looks really neat.
One of my favorite actresses, Anne Hathaway, is in it, and just Anne Hathaway is amazing. I mean, just in the movie, it's amazing too. And it was one of those, I never saw it when it was in theaters because I don't like going to theaters. I like being at home and stuff like that. So we watched it and I loved it.
Yeah, it looks really good. It just looks funny and kind of fun. I liked the original ones, so seeing it with that cast looks super fun.
And there might be more Oceans coming because they left you with the cliffhanger oh, okay. And then going back to nostalgia, I started playing Adventures of Pip. So I really enjoyed, it's an old school platformer. I was playing it and Kappa was saying it's like Metroid. And I was playing that. It's absolutely challenging. And I'm not a great gamer, but it's fun. I finally get through something. I'm yes, I succeeded. I got this.
Oh, nice.
And each of the mobs has this mechanic that you have to learn the right way. And so I like that it wasn't just killing it, but trying to figure out how to get around it. I'm sorry, Raz. Raz is saying that because I don't like going to theaters that I'm
Oh.
I'm sorry, Raz. I forgot that you work in the theaters.
I mean, I used to work in a movie theater, and now that I don't like going to the theaters unless it's a big event either.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these people around.
All those people, and I get picky. They pull out their phones. They talk. I'm a picky person about my experience.
Yeah, I told my mom, don't go to the Alamo Draft House because if you do, they're going to throw you out for using your phone. Because my mom's done. I'm not saying to my mom. I love my mom, but she's the one that she's done knitting with lighted up crochet needles in a movie theater.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
She's got to be doing something while she watches.
Exactly. I'm like, just make sure that like I'm always the one that like I'm ignoring like I don't see my mom. I don't see my mom. Nope. I don't see it.
Oh no. Yeah, like I can sit there, but like I like want to curl up with like a blanket, so I always bring like a big heavy sweater that I can like curl up under. I don't know. Like I'm glad that theaters are getting into like the big recliner experience, but it's taken way too long and now I'm a homebody.
Yeah. And I do like at least with that there's reserved seats.
Yeah, it's getting better, but I don't know. Like it's definitely a thing. And like if you reserve a seat, you reserve one next to somebody that you don't want to sit next to, like
Oh yeah.
you
Like
can't escape.
No. I got there one time and the person was like, "Oh, someone's there." And you could tell the whole movie he's like he's mad that I'm there. I'm like, "I'm sorry. I
You're like, what am I gonna do about this?
Exactly."
Yeah.
So speaking of home is a great place for gaming. It's a great place to sit up with a great game and enjoy it. So how did you get into gaming?
Actually, it's kind of a funny story. I was adopted when I was 15 months old, and I think like one of my first memories with my adopted parents was playing the original Nintendo. We were playing like Mario and stuff like that, and I really remember watching like my mom playing that and me playing like Duck Hunt and stuff like that. So I pretty much like cut my teeth playing video games. Like I grew up in a household where video games were a very big deal. Like you got gifted game systems for like the holidays. I had pretty much every single Nintendo system growing up. I had computer games. It was very much so encouraged to play video games in my household.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was modeled by my sisters who played games. So because like my dad doesn't play games. He never really got into it. It is interesting. If I had never been modeled, I might not be playing games.
Yeah, it definitely like it was encouraged. Like my parents played them and then I played them and then like my younger brother got into it and then the younger brother and then, like the youngest one. And there was like this running joke where like always like the younger sibling would accidentally delete a save file and it caused the older sibling to like sob and cry. And it was like this like ongoing system that my mom would just be like, well, if it was important, you should have like hid it from the sibling.
Yeah.
And she's like, I watched like 4 generations of this happen.
Nice.
And apparently now like the older one like goes around like deleting save files on all the younger ones, like the next youngest one from me, and he's like people gotta know how it feels.
Hey. Well, I mean, at least now there's cloud saves, so I mean, there is that.
Right. He definitely did it to the youngest one. He's like, you got to know how it feels to be in this family, and she's like, what did I do to anyone?
I remember my friend was playing a game on the Xbox. I think it was like Lost Odyssey, and it was a huge, awful, just challenging game, and like,
oh, it was huge.
And he had this save, and he let me play Lost Odyssey. I accidentally overwrote this game, not on purpose, but felt so bad.
Yeah, and that was the sort of thing. Like, it was just young people being young. Like, like they were 4 or 5, and they'd be interested, and they'd accidentally overwrite save files.
Yeah.
And the older sibling would be like, I hate my life. How could you do this to me? Very dramatic.
Yeah. Everything is awful. Everything is wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get from Nintendo and all that into Blizzard and World of Warcraft?
Well, I mean, like I had access to like video games. I think like my first real computer game was like Doom or Blood. When I was like 10. I went over to somebody's like house for like a sleepover, and all of them were like playing dress up, and then their dad was like playing that, and I was like, wow, that's cool. And I went home and my parents were like, oh no, this is really bad. You're 10 years old, please stop. And so they got me like a bunch of like role playing games and stuff like that, and it kind of just transitioned. And then when I was in high school, I had some friends playing EverQuest too. I wasn't super duper into it. I like poked around, it was okay, but I had some friends and they were like, we'll buy a copy of World of Warcraft when it comes out. And I was like, oh man, that's super cool. I was totally in the closet about my WoW playing at school because I was like, cool girl, it's cool. I don't play that kind of video games. I'm not a nerd. So I played WoW in vanilla, and like that was my like I did my homework. I played WoW. And then when I moved out, and I moved in with the guy that I was dating, he was like, yeah, so I know it's dorky, but I play like World of Warcraft. And I'm like, what the heck is World of Warcraft? Because I had been so far in with being like, I don't know what World of Warcraft is. I had to like quit and like start over on a new account to uphold my lie of not knowing what World of Warcraft was. So he thought for like 10 full years, he was like, look at how great I was introducing you to this video game you love. And I was like, yeah, so that's a lie. I like rated in vanilla. You didn't introduce me to anything. And he was just like, okay, that explains why you got addicted in like 10 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, I have to commend you though. You kept with it, and you were able to really go ahead with it. If I did that, I would have. People could have told within like minutes. So I'm impressed.
Yeah, like I don't know, like I just would like wait for him to leave, and I'd be like, well, I kind of wanted a warlock anyways, so this is pretty neat. And I just completely re-rolled. Like there was no server transfers then. There were no like character swaps or level boosts. So I was like, well, this is all right anyways. And I just committed.
Have you ever taken that account now onto your BattleNet to see if it unlocks anything?
Well, I mean, the account was under somebody else's name, so they had like sold the account. So I was just kind of like, well, it's all right.
Yeah.
Oh well. Alas.
Yeah, your former life there, and now this is your new life. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, it's gone. No big deal.
And you mentioned Classic earlier. So are you going to be playing Classic?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I reserved some names in both Grobulus and Booty Bay because I know I want to be on an RP realm. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to go to. I said Booty Bay, but it's Bloodsail Buccaneers. So
okay, yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's where WoW Challenges is also going to be.
Yeah. Oh, are they? Yeah. It's a good little RP realm. There's a ton of like community popping up there. There's a ton of plans. There's like multiple servers. There's like a Wikipedia project jumping up there. I think like the Moonguard community, they have like a project where they do stuff like big D20 like D&D events. They're also planning to host events over there. So I'm really excited. I think it's probably definitely going to be my server. So I'm just trying to decide which name I'm going to use and stuff like that.
Leo Wow is going to be on Bloodsail as well. I think I'm going to have to roll a character on Bloodsail because I mean, because hearing what you just said and hearing Leo Wow, I mean, a lot of people it's a happening place.
Yeah, it looks really good. It looks really fun. So I'm excited to be there.
Oh, and nice Leo Wow crunk. Squeak, 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 squeak.
Druid. Okay, yeah. I'll be waving from the opposite side.
Yeah, I'm going all Alliance. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is your play style in WoW?
I have a very mixed play style. I raided for years. I raided in vanilla, and then I went very slow in Burning Crusade, and then I hopped right back on the raiding train. I actually was a raid leader in Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, and a little bit in Warlords of Draenor, and Mists of Pandaria. And I've done some world firsts. I've done some like high-end raiding. I've done some super casual raiding. I mean, raiding was like everything for me. I even did mythic raiding in like Legion and stuff like that. To the point where I had like 2 characters running heroic content to gear my character for mythic content, and I just don't raid anymore. I can't do it. A big part of my life is role playing with the WoW community. That's been number 1 for me since Burning Crusade. When I rerolled my character, I've been in full-time in character guilds where they never spoke in character, and then they raided, which is like herding cats.
Oh, I bet.
Try explaining the mechanics in character in WoW. Let me tell you, it doesn't work, and I would never do that again. It's very silly. Explain the mechanics of Naxxramas in character.
Wow. Yeah.
No.
I can't imagine.
No. It doesn't work very well. There was a lot of dying. I have this one screenshot of the first like spider boss of like the boss pulling and people dying before like the boss gets its first vocal emote out.
Nice.
Yeah, really bad stuff. But like I really do enjoy the role playing community. There's so much community. Like if you like walk around like Moonguard and stuff, like obviously like there's like the rumors about Moonguards like this. But there's so much creativity and like you see people's TRPs and long stories. And I've had the same character for like 12 years now. But I still do a ton of PvP. I'll jump into like BGs. I think like my PvP level is like 85 or something. I don't know. I just like BGs. So I try everything.
Nice.
The only thing I don't do is pet battles. I just don't understand them. I'm really bad at them. I just lose.
I'm with you. I've got friends who pet battle, and like I keep wanting to try it, and like I downloaded the app for it. I need to do it, but it's like shiny. This over here, I can do that.
Yeah, I feel like that like math meme, like the like JPEG of people like looking at it and people explaining, and they're like, you just use this pet and that pet and you use this ability, and I'm like, okay, good luck with that. I'm just gonna collect cute ones.
I don't get like it's like Pokemon. I thought I was get Pokemon until I hear all the people talk about their Pokemon stuff, and I'm like, oh. And I do agree with Kappa. If there was a mobile pet battle game, I might be able to do it because then when I'm not playing well, I got
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy Pokemon, like base level Pokemon. I'll play that, but I think in the game and having to travel around and then like have the right pet and arrange them just right, it's too complicated.
Yeah.
Way too complicated. I definitely play the mobile game. Get on that, Blizzard.
Absolutely. And when you aren't RPing and when you aren't running away from pet battles, you are coordinating 2 runs every year.
Yeah, I coordinate the running of the gnomes and the running of the trolls. I don't know, it was just kind of an accident that I like stumbled into doing this stuff, and then it just sort of happened.
So this past year, it raised, the last that I found was about over $4,000 for the Trevor project for the running of the trolls.
Right. Yeah, we raised about $4,000 for the running of the trolls for the Trevor project, plus about an additional 100 to 200 for shirts. I don't know. The shirts weren't super popular this year. I think I just launched them a little late. That's on my end. But yeah, the running of the trolls raised about 4,000. The running of the gnomes, I think, raised like $7,000 to $8,000 as well last year. So they're both super duper popular. And I think the previous year, the running of the gnomes raised $18,000 because it was its first year with the holiday and everything else. So it had a ton of press.
For the toy vaccine.
Yeah, it's for the vaccine for the Cleveland Clinic. I actually work directly with them. I have a super nice contact there. She's amazing, and she helps coordinate me with their research team and everything else. And they're working on one specifically for triple negative breast cancer, which some of our community members are actually afflicted with. It's one of the hardest ones to treat. It's one of the hardest ones to get over. It's one of the hardest ones, like once you're diagnosed with it, like it's horrifying.
I'm glad that you do both of the events. The running of the gnomes was one that when I first saw that, it's one thing that got me in love with the community of showing that gamers aren't like dead to the world and stuff like that. I was actually on a radio show this past week, and the guy was like, "Wow, gamers aren't just dead to the world." And I was like, I like his phrase, but like, gamers care.
Yeah, I think like there's a very bit different tone for each one. Like the running of the gnomes seems very like I'm impassioned and like I really miss these people, or I'm really angry at cancer. But like the running of the trolls is very passionate and joyful and very happy. Like it's one of the most joyful things I do every year, and I always just feel really revitalized being around those people. Like I wish more people would come and just kind of partake in being really excited and happy for a day, because it's a gay pride event. Like you can't avoid being super happy, because the Trevor Project really is, it's about helping people and making certain that they get to stay on this earth for as long as they possibly can. So it's perfect.
I've got friends who are struggling, and I like that there's an organization that's trying to do everything it can to give people encouragement. And like, am I wrong in that I was reading a thread that the running of the trolls actually helped somebody come out to their family? Or
I think it has encouraged some people to like open up and talk to their family. I know that some families actually attend all together, like with their kids and stuff, or people like bring like their moms or their dads together. One thing that I really like about it is that it provides a space for people because, like, I grew up in a really small town in Oregon and there wasn't a gay pride event there. And I think a lot of people think, like, oh, there's gay pride events like everywhere. A lot of people forget that there's, like, people don't always have access to those events. Like, you can't just super easily just go to one, or if, like, you're in the closet or you're disabled or it's too far or you live in a country where you can't. This gives like a digital space where people can come together and they can experience that. That's one of the really cool benefits about it. And it gives people like a visualization of these people still really do care about me and they don't want you to like give up on life. And it's just a nice, like, you can see these people.
There was somebody who actually RP'd in WoW, and it helped get them to finally transition this past year, and they were showing to me how powerful World of Warcraft is, in that you can be who you've wanted to be and who you feel that you are, and it's incredible the safe space that it is.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Like, I think a lot of people too, like when they role play in WoW, they get to try on who they need to be or who they want to be or who they need to escape into being for that period of time. Like, people really like bash on the idea of like Mary Sueism or like trying to be a different person for a little bit. But I think that sort of safe space, like role play, is actually really healthy as long as you're not harming any other person. So yeah, I think it's awesome, actually.
How did you get into planning these runs? Because it sounds like you kind of, it just came about.
Well, it's kind of funny. Like I said, I used to be a raid leader in Wrath of the Lich King, and then I became a guild leader for that guild. And so our guild did a lot of different fun little events. We had a birthday party, and we held like a day-long event where we raided Molten Core naked, and we ran all these old events, and we killed all the World Shrine Dragon bosses when they still existed, which they'll be back in Classic. Hooray! But we did a bunch of fun stuff like that. And so I was like, I kind of want to like, I love those little events where people like run and kill like low level things. We should do one of those races. And I was like, but there's just no point in doing it. Like, why would we go do this? And somebody was like, that would be really fun. And normally in October, our guild turned their tabards pink for breast cancer awareness anyways, and we'd hold a big raffle. It would have been my idea like 2 years before. We would reward people for wearing their tabards. We'd put up a big post on our server forums and be like, look, we're turning our like tabards pink for breast cancer awareness. Please get you guys selves checked. Even if you're a guy, it's really important. Give our guild members a high five. We encourage you guys to do the same. And somebody's like, what if we just combined them? And I'm like, yeah, we could combine them. And I'm like, how are we going to make that many pink shirts? And then we were pitching ideas and we're like, well, what if they were gnomes because they have pink hair?
Yeah.
And it either has to be like night elves that are death knights with pink hair, and that's a pain in the butt, or they could be gnomes with pink hair. And so then like I went on like this crazy adventure, and I think my officers thought I was like kind of losing it at that moment. And then I like actually planned out this entire course, and they're like, well, Dravvie planned all this and we're just gonna roll with it. And then I went on LiveJournal, which that was still a thing then.
Wow.
It was like 10 years ago, and I went on this community called WoW Ladies, which was really popular. If you ask on Twitter about WoW Ladies, everybody will get super nostalgic. And I made a post and I was like, look, we're hosting this event for breast cancer awareness. It grabbed the attention of a bunch of people. Noxychew saw it and made a post on Wowhead inviting people to come. And a bunch of people came. I don't know if you remember, there used to be that show about people who were like raiders. It was like a web series. They invited a bunch of people. The top guild on our server invited people, and people just kept logging out and bringing back people. And eventually we had 140 gnomes. And we were expecting like 30 people, and most of them were going to be our friends because we had 25 raiders plus extras. And so we were expecting like 30 people, and we had 140.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a lot. It was very weird. And we were like, okay, well, this was fun. And so we ran to Booty Bay, and this was right before like the area changed. So gnomes actually, it started where dwarves do.
Yeah.
In that little area, and you have to run through the tunnel and everything else and run on out. But then at Booty Bay, there are all those Bloodsail Buccaneers right at the entrance, and they used to be like super aggressive and attack people. They wiped all the gnomes. And they wiped us for like a good 20 or 30 minutes, and it was hilarious. Everybody thought it was so much fun, and they were like, this was a great time. Do it again next year. And we're like, I guess we could. Sure, why not? And so it just became an annual thing. And, we raised maybe like $200 or $300 the first year. And we just kept coming back. And about 5 years in, people were like, every year somebody said, do a horde run. People would like troll us and they're like, oh man, only stuff for men. And like suicide affects gay men or male identifying gay people or people under like the LGBT umbrella. And so we're like, well, we'll make a troll event to troll you guys and make it a gay pride event, and that'll show you. And so that's how we came up with the troll event.
So it was a very organic thing, but seeing what the community was
asking for, we delivered in the best way possible while also upsetting some of the people who were like, what about men?
Yeah, and bringing awareness to a great cause. I don't know if I knew about the Turf Project before the running of the trolls.
Yeah, some people really didn't, even though they're very old, very well known. But like outside of the gay pride community, not everybody knows about them, and they're such a good resource. So
yeah, they have a hotline too if people are struggling.
They have a hotline, they have text messaging, and they do also community outreach. They will train people in like how to help. So like if you're working in like a job or like you're a teacher and stuff, they'll literally help people out with like how to help other people.
That's incredible. About 2 years ago, the running of the gnomes was turned into an in-game event.
Yeah.
So what did it feel like when you saw the gnome run turned into an in-game event?
Well, the process for me was a little different because I knew that it was going to happen, but I had to keep my mouth shut. I got a Twitter DM from a Blizzard employee, and he was a CM, and he's like, hey, I need to send you an email about a thing. And he's like, well, what's the best email for you? And I was just like, okay, well, that's weird, but whatever. Like, I talk to Blizzard employees all the time. Whatever, you're being weird. So I sent him my email, and he sends me this big email, and he's like, look, we want to turn it into a holiday, and here's all the things we want to do. And I was just like, look, that's fine as long as you don't give any money to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. I don't care. Just don't let them profit off of it. If you want to, like, sell anything else that has to go to this clinic, that's fine. I don't care. And they're like, no, it's fine. And I'm like, yeah, it's totally fine. But then I was like, 10 minutes after I sent all those emails, I was like, was I too pushy? And then I was like, wait, was this a real email? Like, am I being pranked? And like, I had to like check that it was really from Blizzard and that he was really a Blizzard employee and that Blizzard employees. And then I was like, okay, well, that's weird. And like in the email, he was like, don't tell anyone. So I had to like not tell anyone. I couldn't even tell like my best friend because I was like scared that like she was going to tell somebody. I didn't tell like anybody else involved. I just kept my mouth shut. And then I had to wait to see if it showed up in a patch. And then like it started to get data mined, and there was a hint of it in the data mining 5 days before anybody noticed. And somebody was just like, wow, what's this gnome running event? And I was just like, oh, that's weird. And they're like, Dravvie, like, what is this? And I was just like, I don't know. I know nothing about it, because I couldn't be like, yeah, it's a thing. I had to just be like, oh, that's weird. Until like the whole thing was data mined, and like Perk was like, hey, I found this thing. I just had to be like, I don't know. And like I linked it to my best friend. I'm like, hey, does this look weird to you? And she's like, I don't know. Do you even like gnome stuff? I was like, come on, somebody noticed this.
Yeah.
And so then it like came out, and like it was weird. Like it was so bizarre. Like it was really cool, but like it was weird because it came out and all of a sudden there were all these people and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I was hearing from people in like Korea and Japan and all of these things, and it was really cool. It was so excited. But I had kept my mouth shut for like 2 months. It was agonizing. It was bizarre.
One thing I've learned from this episode so far is you are really good at confidence, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, it was something. I have never kept a secret like that before in my life.
Except for the playing WoW secret.
Yeah, okay. I guess I kept that one too. I've kept 2 WoW-related secrets, and normally I can never keep a secret.
I keep campaigning that Blizzard needs to do the same thing for the troll event too, because just seeing the amount of people that were brought to the attention of the Gnome Run from the in-game event, and how that year raised so much money.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool. I know it took like about 7 years for them to notice the running of the gnomes and decide, oh man, this is a yearly thing. So I don't know. I mean, like they just started adding more holidays. So maybe like somebody will be like, yeah, this is going to be a thing. I don't know. I mean, hopefully I can't beg and plead, but they've been super duper cool about supporting it on the back end where they make certain that the servers won't crash. They provide a ton of support. They even like kind of help advertise it. They included it in their like super cool charity stuff. So they have promoted it in a lot of different ways, which is actually super cool of them.
That part is cool to hear that Blizzard's giving support and helping make, because you're right. Think about all those gnomes and those trolls. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, they there was an event the year before it became a holiday where the servers literally crashed for I don't know, a good 5 to 10 minutes. I think that was the push where they were like, I guess we need to help them out.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that our game doesn't crash for them and for everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, Scarlet Crusade and Feathermoon, they still had active raiding going on. And so I kind of was like very apologetic because that was my original home server for my Warlock. And I was just like, sorry, guys. I know it's a Saturday night. Sorry.
So it's the in-game equivalent of a permit.
Yeah, pretty much. And people would always say like, oh, you're going to get banned like somebody did for spamming. I guess it was Swifty. Swifty gathered up a bunch of people and they spammed. And I would hear that for like the first 6 years. And once the holiday came in, everybody's like, I guess she's not going to get banned.
Yeah. And I'm glad you haven't, because I again, just what you do for the community and that these events.
Yeah. I mean, somebody eventually was like, I don't think you're going to get banned for a charity event, but everybody would always joke, oh man, she's going to get banned. And I'm like, I really don't think I'm going to get banned for this. They were going to ban me. It was going to be the first year. Well,
Yeah.
The first time I crashed their servers, like year 3. But after that, I think we're good.
And actually, it would bring even more publicity if they banned you, because then people would go in your place. I people would be like, I want to be Dravvie, I want to be Dravvie, and
Somebody tried to take the troll run and run it this year because she didn't see me post fast enough about it. So definitely people would try to be me and be like, I'm going to be in charge now. It would happen. It would be a thing. So I'm pretty confident. Yes, that would definitely happen.
So definitely, if you see an event out there that you want to try to imitate, make sure that you check with the organizer first to make sure that they're not going to be rerunning it that year.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you see a regular event, definitely DM the organizer first. Otherwise, the organizer might not be too thrilled.
So how did you overcome the fear and the little voice in your head?
Well, I kind of figured like if it totally flopped, it would be like this one funny memory that like 10 of my friends and I had, and hopefully everybody on LiveJournal would forget about it. And yeah, I kind of like worry now that like it'll flop and be a bad time or like something will go wrong. But like back then I was just kind of like, well, if it's not a good time, it's something entertaining that we did with our evening. I think I had a lot more confidence back then. I worry way more now about appeasing people. So I just looked at it as if it goes bad, we had fun for like 10 minutes.
So now, like trying to keep up the quality that you've attained and trying to keep that reputation going.
Yeah, I like people look at it as like, oh no, there's like sharding and stuff, and I'm like, but you were with 300 other gnomes, like what do you want? Do you want your computer to crash instead? Like people come up with really silly complaints now, and I feel bad that they're not like fully happy, but at the same time I have to look at, I can't make everybody happy, and their complaints are bizarre and not ones I can fix. So like, my computer didn't crash, I had a bad time. What? Yeah, I can't keep up with those ones.
Yeah, I can't believe that you didn't code the game to make it work.
How dare you not hack Blizzard servers and make it so that I can see all 7,000 gnomes all at once?
Yeah.
Your computer couldn't handle that. Nobody's computer could.
Well, I remember last year I ran the troll run, and I ran it. I could not do it during the time it was, so I ran on the server later. And what was cool is I was giving people Twitter updates. I was just like, and I think I even streamed it as I was going. And what was cool, I believe it was Nimalaya. They actually came over to Silvermoon, and then like we were passing rainbows around, and it was cool to be taking part of it, but not having any of the performance issues.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Because it's definitely really laggy. Like I'm lucky I have a great computer, but even still, it's a performance strain for sure.
Yeah, I mean all those characters. Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Blizzard servers.
What is a story that has stood out to you from the runs?
I think my favorite story from the runs is that, and I heard this the next year on Reddit when somebody saw me advertising the runs, and he's like, "This explains so much." Somebody logged into the game. It was his very first day playing World of Warcraft. He saw all these little gnomes in the starting area. We invited him to a guild. We gave him a tavern. He happened to have pink hair. He was like, "What are we doing? Where are we running?" He ran to Booty Bay. He logged out. He was like, "This is the greatest day of my life." I think he went and licked whatever war chief we had, and he logged out and he logged back in, and there were no gnomes the next day. And he was like, "What the heck is World of Warcraft?" And so he had no idea what the heck happened to him for an entire year until he happened to see a post advertising it on Reddit, and he was like, "This explains so much. I just want you to know that was my very first day of World of Warcraft." I treasure that immensely.
Wow. Because yeah, I mean, where'd all my guildies go?
Where'd all my guildies go? Where are all the people? Are we running to Booty Bay again? Like, that guy logged in to the starting area every day for like weeks.
Yeah, like where are they?
Are we doing it again? What happened?
It's kind of like the movie Passenger now. I'm thinking of like, yeah.
He had no idea what happened to him whatsoever.
Oh, that is great. Besides gaming, you have numerous hobbies, and one that I think is really cool. You're into K-pop.
Yeah, I actually am. I'm into a ton of music. I actually almost was a music major. I moderate a K-pop subreddit. Yeah, I fell down that rabbit hole at some point in my life.
What is it like being a Reddit moderator?
I would have to say it's a little bit like being a internet janitor, but glorified.
Okay.
Is that a good way of putting it? You're the kid yelling at the other kids to stop fighting the other kids.
That sounds right. I'm acquaintances with the mod at podcasting subreddit, and some of the stories that they share on one of the Discord, I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's I mean, like, it's a really good experience. I've gone to places like KCON, and I've gotten to meet a ton of other people. I've had the opportunity to meet writers for Billboard and for MTV, and I've gotten to meet so many cool people. I've gotten to meet artists. I've gotten to meet so many amazing people in the K-pop community. But at other times, it gets really hard because like you pass these rules and they're not always popular, and sometimes you pass them and you make a commitment to them, and you hate the rules too. So it's like, why did I agree to this? But we made a commitment to the community, and if we go back on it now, then like other users are going to be really upset. And I'm currently caught in one of those loopholes, and it's just like, I didn't even really read the rules when we were passing it, and I was so involved in another project that I kind of trusted the other moderators. Like, yeah, it's really frustrating. So, yeah, that's one of those things. But I still really enjoy the music. I enjoy all music.
What would you say is your favorite band and or song?
I mean, that's kind of difficult. I would say that my all-time ever favorite group would probably be like Girls' Generation. I got into them probably like 2007, 2008-ish. But they're like retired now. Groups do retire over time. They have a short shelf life. It's like 7 or 8 years, maybe 10. I don't think I have like a favorite song. That's a long list. I like a lot of different groups now. So I like a lot of boy groups. There's like a list. I like a lot of girl groups. There's like a list. So I really like Dreamcatcher. They're like a really cool metal group. I don't know. I like a lot of stuff. So hard to pick.
Do you listen primarily like on a streaming service or like iTunes or Winamp or something like that?
I use Apple Music. They're actually, they used to be the best. They used to be that Spotify didn't get like K-pop music as fast, and so you could use Apple Music and they got it like same day. Now it's pretty much the same. So I actually also have like a Spotify playlist that I loan out to people if they want to like hear what sort of music I think is really good, and they want to get into K-pop. Yeah, I mainly use Apple Music or YouTube.
And especially with like K-pop, I could see it being like harder to get the licensing. So yeah, it would make sense that YouTube would be a good resource to add to it.
Yeah, they change the licensing all the time. So you'll have your playlist, and then all of a sudden you'll see like a song just grayed out, and you'll be like, well, where did it go? And then you have to like re-download it under a slightly different name, and it kind of drives me nuts. Like, why are you guys doing this to me? Like, they'll slightly rename it, or they'll change it from like English to like Hangul, and then they'll like change it back the next week. So much effort.
Yeah, I'm not a profit-making content creator, but I'm always the way that I want my stuff out there everywhere, and I'm always amazed that labels and stuff don't see that. If you get the music out there, people won't want to pirate it as much, and they may actually want to pay you. I mean,
it's even worse. Like if you enjoy like Japanese music, they really don't want to share their licensing. Like Apple Music for Japan, you have to have an entirely separate account, and then you have to like download it from there and then transfer it to your US iTunes account. It's very frustrating. I think if I ever pirate music, it's always Japanese music, because they just don't want to sell it to you unless they sell you a physical album, which is so frustrating. I want to stream your music legally, and you won't let me.
Yeah, like when I was in Final Fantasy 14, I loved the soundtracks to that, and the only way I could get it was going to Amazon Japan and then importing the Blu-ray, so I could then import it to my streaming service. I'm like,
it's the one market that is huge on physical albums, and they don't believe in a streaming service.
wow.
What the heck? Yeah, like Korea's big on streaming services. They have Melon, they have other things, but Japan, they don't want to stream anything. They want to sell you a CD, and I don't want a CD. I just want to listen to the music.
Yeah. Just put it on there so that way I don't even have a DVD player on my laptop, so I have to plug it in, and it's a hassle. I mean, yeah.
Oh, that sounds terrible. Yeah, no, I just want to listen to it.
So. Yeah, just put it in the background and be like, oh, what CD do I have?
Yeah. No, you should just be able to pull up a whole library, and that's it right there.
Yeah.
One click.
So what would your K-pop band or artist name be?
You know, I think I would probably still use Dravvie. It translates pretty well. You have to like change it, so it'd probably be more like Dravvie, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like they could change my first name or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. That's pretty hard to pick, because I think like K-pop artists, like sometimes they get assigned whole new names that aren't really their real names. Like their real name will be something like very common, but everybody's using it, so they'll get assigned an entire brand new name. It's actually really fascinating to me. I think I'm more into K-pop for the fascination of like how marketing and everything else works, and then like the political side of it, than I am for the music at this point. I'm just completely fascinated.
Is that like the Screen Actors Guild where like actors will get different names, or?
I think it's more to avoid like to allow their actors to become their actors and their idols. Well, idols can both be an actor and a singer. It's very common to do both. So they really want like the brand of an idol to become even more popular because they have a super unique name.
Okay.
So they'll avoid like having two of one person. Like if they can, you would want to be like the only person with that name. So you'd look and be like, oh wow, there's like three of this person. It would be much easier to just go find, like there's a ton of Jisoo's, but if you went and named somebody like something else, you're going to remember their name forever.
Interesting. And now that you mentioned that, like that's part of the reason why I went for Frazley versus my human name. I'm like, you're right, because it's different.
It's different. People remember it. There's only one Frazley. Yeah.
Though interesting thing, there is a singer named Frazee Ford.
Right. Oh, well, but that's different. It's pronounced different. It's also like my real name is Ashley, but like there's a bajillion Ashleys. There's one Dravvie, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you to the one to the one Dravvie for being on FrazlCast tonight.
You almost said one Ashley.
I almost said. I mean, sometimes our mind only goes in one direction.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me.
So where can we find you on the interwebs?
Well, the main two places to find me are at Dravvie on Instagram or Twitter, or you can follow at Warcraft Cares. I usually tweet some of the, or retweet some of the updates for stuff like the running of the gnomes and the trolls, as well as there's another project that Warcraft Cares promotes called the Ice Crown Challenge.
Yes.
It's so awesome. And we promote that every winter around like Christmas time. So there's that as well.
That one I love, and I that's typically the run where I mess up an ICC. I think last year was 50 minutes for me.
I took a phone call last year, so my donation was awfully big. It was like $40 instead of my usual $25. Whatever, it was to a good cause.
Absolutely. And I did not realize. So you're behind Warcraft Cares.
I am one of the 2 people behind Warcraft Cares. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Because like I've seen Warcraft Cares. Nice. The things you learn.
Yeah, it's a nice little side project. It doesn't get really as much love as it should, but it's a nice small way to promote those 3 little projects.
Absolutely.
Activating customized 4% transporter.
Well, I'm back at my home of Ironforge until we one day reclaim Gnomergon.
Let's look at what has been happening in the community.
Awesome. Let's do that. So the day this episode airs, Classic will be launching. Icy Veins has been keeping up to date on the realm populations as we get close to Classic. Many servers have been added, and quite a few have filled up, like Mankirk. I guess they want to help find his wife. So new servers will be added on Monday for both US and EU. So Wowhead has been making improvements to their Classic site. They improved the model viewer and the Classic Wowhead database to add things like all the possible random enchantments that are on dropped BOE items, and they've added more filters for searching. And Pete brought to my attention that Method is working with the World Showdown of Esports, which is a multi-genre, multi-game tournament series according to Method's press release. They're going to be streaming to be the first to get their personal characters to 60, and then they're going to have their guilds be the first to get Ragnaros and Onyxia. This race for World First will be streamed on Twitch. One cool addition to the casters is a Daniel Mr. GM Carter, who I have watched for quite a bit. Before we end this section, I need to talk about some cool things that have been happening on podcasts. So Geek Herring had this on episode 45 to talk about all that they've been up to, being a female podcaster, and more. Oh, and this has been working on a show, and the first episode, Level Up Episode 1, just launched. They level up people's gaming centers, and Lamb was just awesome. Lamb, if you hear this, I gotta meet you. Your personality and smile kept me smiling the whole time. Saya of Scrubs vs. the World has been going strong. They got to episode 10, and they talked with people recently like Sil, Cal, Navax, Ali, and more. Well, speaking of Sil, who's part of the Dragonforge studio, they just reached episode 50, and they talked with Lita. They talked recently with people like Anna the Pally, Reyna, and more. Oh, and Sil is cooking up some cool things. I can't say more, but you should be in the DPS Discord. I've got a link in a new channel in the Sparkspans Discord to join us over at DPS. Oh, and then on Taran and the Goblin, who just reached episode 75, they asked podcasters to talk about their favorite quests. I was invited to send an audio, and I hope my answer wasn't too crappy, but you'll recognize other voices there as well. When Flaggy Boy, who was on episode 119, they had Warcraft Stats on episode 18 of Load Screen Podcast. Warcraft Stats is one of my favorite Twitter accounts. I got them slated for a future episode of the show. Oh, and I will be on episode 19 of Low Screen Podcast. I'll talk about it next week as we record on Sunday, and I don't know if Plaggy will have it out by the time this episode airs. And finally, there was a piece of the community that has returned. Back when podcasts were still kind of a new thing, they were using downloaded files, it was using RSS, I believe, and Apple was adding podcasts to iTunes around that time. Well, there was a site that I went to for talk shows and music called Warcraft Radio. And they're bringing back the feel of radios to Twitch, so they have a growing schedule of shows. I'm so excited for this. I got introduced to a lot of people like Total Biscuit and Medros through WoW Radio, and I'm so glad it's back. One of the inspirations for me to start this show. I was a call-in guest on a show years ago. I forget which show. I'm trying to remember what we were talking about. I remember one episode, though, I wrote into the host. It was talking about the Deep Run Tram and what that could mean for the future. Well, this has been another packed episode of FrazlCast. I heard from quite a few people that they wanted to try the Impossible Whopper after I talked about it on 119. I really needed BK or Impossible as a sponsor. I had another last week. Oh, I could eat so many of these. They're so good. And every week, I like to thank those who have given to this show financially. Thank you to my Twitch subs out there. Thank you to Erlina, Capo, Crunk, Michael, Resurus, Sal, Thorn, and Zorts. If you want to support this show financially, please go to support.gnomepodcast.com. We have a new shirt there. Pretty awesome. Reserves coined the phrase, and Sir Onion Knight turned it into an awesome shirt. All of your support goes to help supporting this labor of love. We're getting close to that sub 15 goal where we can add an additional Twitch emote. I'm trying to figure out what it should be. Well, I'm Frazley, and you can find the show at gnomepodcast.com. So until next week, be awesome, or be awesome.
Calawac leaders put potential real estate deal on ice. It's the Overly Dramatic News. I'm Hunts the Wind. Our recent report about Uldum made us realize we should check in with other areas from past expansions, and our visit to Northrend uncovered another great story. While attention has been focused on the faction war, Trade Prince Gallywix has been attempting to buy the entire south coast of Northrend, from Borean Tundra to Howling Fjord. Speculation is he thinks there is Azerite under the icy waters offshore, and he is eager to exploit it. But his efforts have been rebuffed by the Calawac tribes that inhabit the coast. Elder Kanani told ODN that reports from Tuskar merchants across the other continents all assess Gallywix as, quote, a vain, greedy dolt who has no honor and cares for nobody but himself. The goblin wants us to sell him our homes and put ourselves under his control. What sane individual would voluntarily give power to a vindictive idiot like him? Unquote. Frustrated by the Calawac refusal to bargain, the trade prince made increasingly bizarre offers to sweeten the deal. He somehow became convinced that the Tuskar had grown tired of their seafood diet and promised them thousands of tons of leaves and vegetables from the goblin-controlled areas of Stranglethorn Vale. This disrespect for Tuskar culinary traditions was the last straw, and they sent the goblin negotiators packing. Their final message to Gallywix? No matter how much green you offer us, we will never give up our land. Broadcasting across all Azeroth, I'm Hunts the Wind. Check out the archives at overlydramaticnews.com or follow me on Twitter at Hunts the Wind.
Welcome to the Fraz Report, a short broadcast by me, the Awesome Gnome, about the World of Warcraft. So Classic is arriving next week, August 26th at 3 p.m. Pacific, or midnight on the 27th if you're in the EU. Do you know who can give us an update on the current realm populations? That's right, the realm list! Let's call for the realm list! Say realm list! Realm list! I'm the realm list! I'm the realm list! I'm the realm list! I'm the realm list! Yeah! So hello everybody! Realms have become very populated. Blizzard is urging players to not roll on Harry US or Shadri EU as they are very, very populated. If you roll in a full realm, it may be an extended queue at launch. So they added some new PvP realms to offset the demand. Gehennis EU, Firemaw EU, Blamu US Pacific Time, Assyria in the Wowhead Common suggested we call it Blue Meow, Stalag US Eastern Time, Scarin US Eastern Time. So there's a lot of people that are excited, and the hype for Classic is amazing. So go on out and reserve your names. See you soon, as many of you will be seeing a lot of me while you wait in queues. Thank you, Realm List. You can sense the hype is electric. Boogie woogie woogie. Okay, we'll let that one slide. Blizzard is adding a keyring to Classic after launch. So according to comments on Wowhead, these launched in 1.11, so it was part of Classic. It just got confused with Burning Crusade / Wrath in our memories. And Wowhead also reports that there will not be an armory or profile page support at WoW Classic's launch. These weren't added in until Burning Crusade, but it does sound like one feature that Blizzard may be adding in the future. Wowhead interviewed the team in May, and it was an idea that they were thinking about. And before I go, I got some fashion news from the Blood Elf Bacane Silverwalker. They brought up a tweet that they saw at 28 Ghosts on Twitter, reminding everyone that the barbershop wasn't added until Wrath of the Lich King. People wanted to look good for taking on the Lich King. And Icy Vein saw a post by Reddit user Artem Maverick that talks about getting rid of the protruding bones on Forsaken. Icy Veins notes that the only downside is it removes all the other bones in-game. I guess beauty comes with a price. There's no bones about it. And Goblin and Worgen have gotten some very unfortunate news. Their heritage armor will not be part of 8.2.5, which will be introducing their new models. This is rather sad news to hear, after we've all been excited for the models and the armor. Now, I have the inside scoop, though, on the reason why. The real reason why is that the tailors that are preparing the suits won't have them ready in time for the packs of Worgen that will be wanting their armor. Plus, they're trying to make sure it can sustain being ripped apart when they transform. as well as seeing if they can keep the hair off the clothes. You ever tried having a cat or dog around clothes? So hard to keep the hair away. And you might be asking, why can't the goblins get their armors then? Their armor was using a new type of material and it exploded in tests. This goblin stuff usually does. So sadly, the parties for the launch 8.2.5 have been canceled. Now, but Kane had me go visit Stormwind for free t-shirts day last week. Reports were coming in that people were griefing the area around where the free t-shirts were being dropped. I can confirm the griefing in the horde of players. I got a ton of shirts, though a few were trampled on by yaks and hunter pets. But my bags were overflowing. I didn't make it to all the vendors, but always next year. And Leo Al told me about a new vendor in Booty Bay, a Valkyria that was added in 8.2. Skin me own coat, Dibblefur. They sell the shirts for 500 gold. Or they are free if you make it there on a free t-shirt day. I had a lot going on and I did not know about this until Sunday. Well, that will do it for today. What was your favorite news this week? I like that part too. So until next time, be awesome.
FrazlCast is a fan podcast that covers Blizzard games. We are not affiliated with Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. Views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own. Some of the art, music, and sound effects come from Blizzard games and are owned by Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. No copyright infringement is intended. The Gnome Train intro is by Allie of Dungeon Fables and All Things Azeroth, and the opening music is by Brandon T. Blaylock.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.